Scotty Real, what's up with THCA?
Chad Westport? I'm not really sure, man. I might need you to help me understand this one. But come on, man. Let's talk about this. There is a lot of talk of THCA, Delta 8, legal, not legal. I don't really get it, man.
No, and that's kind of the whole point. So let's go to how we got here. We got to this whole THCA fiasco because of the 2018 Farm Bill, which basically defined hemp. It took cannabis as we know it and said if it's below zero point 0.3 THC, it's hemp. And hemp should be legal everywhere. And that's kind of what the Farm Bill did. So that's kind of opened the door for the gray area of, seeds and clones and things like this. But they specifically only mentioned the Delta 9 THC, which left the door wide open for all these other things. So that's how we got here.
I love them. I normally am not sympathetic to politicians. Oh my God, that's not a simple one to navigate whatsoever. And I know it's terpenes and cannabinoids is what we're worried about as growers or as consumers. Terpenes are the ones that give us all the flavor and that unique entourage effect. And the cannabinoids are the medicine. That's where the buzz is. That's your THC and your CBD and your THCA and CBV. I don't know. You tell me. You find a new cannabinoids all the time, right?
We are, and that's kind of one of the beauties about being able to study this plant is we're learning more about it, and hopefully we learn more about the medicinal values. But you did mention, it does get confusing because so THCA is that delta 9 THC, but with the acid molecule on it, and that's what the A stands for. Once you heat it, or sometimes with age, it drops that acid molecule and turns into just THC. Now, that THC is regulated, but if it has the little acid molecule on it, well, apparently there is no regulation for it. And that's, again, kind of causing the kerfuffle, as they would say. But I mean, dude, come on. I mean, we all it's an interesting one for me to like take a side on because I'm pro this plant. I want it out there. I think it should be fully legal whether it has an A on it or not. But at the same time, I'm also like, guys, come on, man. That's such a obviously like face smacking loophole that you're exploiting it. And I'm like, there needs to be some sort of like framework for it, but there isn't. And one of the articles that I had kind of pulled up, and I'm sorry to be long winded here, but there was an article in NPR that said, it's talking about Texas. Texas has some pretty strict cannabis laws. And when you think about, a booming cannabis market, you don't necessarily think Texas. But the article was Texas is awash in intoxicating cannabis, and the thing that pulled my attention to it is it had a quote in there saying that brickweed is falling out of fashion in Texas.
Good,
But that's because of the
good.
big THC. Yeah, I know, right? I never knew brickweed was really in fashion, but apparently it is falling out of fashion, according to NPR News. But THCA, man, what are your thoughts on it? Like, are we just really just slicing that onion so thin and exploiting a loophole, or what do you
Yeah.
think about it?
I'm proud of my fellow Americans exploiting loopholes like that. All right. That's what we're good at. All right. Navigating around the laws. I tell you what, I don't have any problem with THCA because it's unburnt THC. As soon as it's just a loophole. It's the same thing. I have some friends that are in the THCA mail order business. It's a loophole.
Okay.
They're selling you the same stuff that we're buying. The thing I really got a problem with is that Delta 8, and I'll just take my a minute just to make sure that we don't misunderstand those two or confuse those two. Delta 8 is CBD that they're diluting in solvent. They're changing the pH with sulfuric acid, and then they're creating this different type of cannabinoid that is intoxicating. That does have some kind of psychoactive effect from CBD. That is shady, man. So I just want to make sure that we clear the confusion. CBDA or THCA is not Delta 8.
Very, very good point, because those two do kind of get lumped into the same, it's exploiting the loophole. But that's scary, man. I mean, as growers, particularly home growers, a lot of us are like, we want to do it because we don't want nasty chemicals on there. We're not looking for the genetically modified triploid, haploids, diploids, all of those. So hearing that process, man, is a little concerning. I've personally had one experience with the Delta 8. It came from a state where cannabis wasn't legal, and again, just exploiting the Delta 8 or the Farm Bill. The Delta 8 law there said they can have it. It was a Rice Krispie treat, 300 milligrams of Delta 8. Maybe I just have weed privilege. I'm not sure. Pop my collar on that one, but it didn't do anything. I couldn't tell the difference. Have you ever
Something's wrong.
tried Delta 8?
I
Yeah.
have not, thankfully, and it's a big deal as far as being able to have access to high quality cannabis. I mean, we talk about the brickweed back in the day. Who knows what that was sprayed with? Who knows how that was, what kind
Ooh.
of toxins and what am I thinking of? Like bacteria and fungi and molds when
Man.
it was packaged. That stuff was
Mm.
dangerous, man. So I'm happy to have. I think it's great that you can go mail order and go on the interwebs and get some THCa flower, some really high quality THCa concentrates delivered to your house with a very low risk of them getting confiscated. Very low.
Well, and that is one advantage of kind of the loophole being exploited, but also still a framework that these people need to work within, because there is some oversight, there is some testing, there is, there are regulations, and that's kind of one of the ways the loophole is exploited. Because when you're testing hemp, you can get your tests done for the cannabinoid content up to 30 days before the anticipated harvest. Now, sometimes you can stretch it a little and it might be further out from harvest. But as growers, we know that if you test your favorite cannabis strain, if you test that 30 days before harvest, that THC number is going to be very, very low. Whereas the THCa may be a little higher. It's probably going to test higher in something like CBG, some other cannabinoids, but your THC expression doesn't really come on uh, until much later in the flowering cycle. So that's good that there is regulation, but that's also how they're exploiting it for this THCA type delivery stuff. I haven't looked in Washington myself, but we're a state adult use state, so you can get THCA or THC if you want. Is there a big market for it in Colorado, or is it like Washington where, hey, we already have it, we don't need to play the loophole game?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to check my weed privilege because I don't really go, looking outside too much for good quality cannabis. I'm thinking more for folks, my friends in Florida or my friends in some of these other prohibition states where they see what we're getting. They got the interwebs, man. They can see Instagram and they're like, I want some of that. And then there's people that are, you got a website and especially the extracts, man, how shippable those are. You're getting people that are delivering super high quality, 78, 80% THC extracts that are clean, good quality, and they're getting to where they need to go for a reasonable price. People are getting their medicine. I got no problem with that.
No, and especially if it does help people with the therapeutic benefits, I'm all for it. I mean, we were doing this stuff before it was legal, so now that it's just a loophole legal, still for it. Do what you guys got to do, overgrow. But this could be coming to an end. The Farm Bill isn't a static thing, it's a working piece of law. Every 5 years, it gets reenacted. And if you're quick with your math, you'd be like 2018, it's currently 2025. That's not 5 years, Chad, but it's been delayed. It was up for another vote or for being rewritten in 2023. Some of these things that we are talking about now, as far as the just blatant loopholes, and again, laws are all about wording. Even a comma can make or break certain things. And when you specifically call out Delta 9 THC and nothing else, again, that's kind of how we got here. So they're looking at rewriting the law to address some of these things like the Delta 8, the THCA. But 2025, it's been pushed back from 2023, 2024, now to 2025. These things may be changing. Do you think they're going to close the loopholes, or what do you anticipate is going to happen with that, Scotty?
I just want to say my fake name is Scotty Real, and I do have to be real for a second. It doesn't matter if you're breaking the law or not. If the feds want to come after you, they will charge you and they will prosecute you, and you can either, you can try to work your way out of it. You can try to hire a couple $100,000 lawyer. So they are really, holding the cards. It's just whether you're under the radar. If you're someone little that's just slinging whatever here and there, THC. That's one thing. When you're on that radar, though, and they're like, I think what in New York did $1 billion in sales of legal cannabis products. All of a sudden, there's a 37% tax rate. Ready? Want me to do the math on it? It's $370 million, sir. Okay, they want that tax money, man. Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those things below the radar until they see all this money, and then they're like, "Yo, we gotta the hell with this loophole, man. We're jumping in."
Right. That's motivating factor for politicians a lot of times is tax revenue and what they can do with it. And a lot of time jobs that they can bring, which is something that we've, encouraged cities, states, and even countries to adopt legalization because there's much more of an economical benefit for everybody than just the consumers of the end product. So that's another story for another time. And we're going to be talking about rescheduling and descheduling coming up in the next week. So maybe the farm bill won't make a difference, but I kind of suspect that it will, and I don't suspect it's going to be as friendly.
Man, you think we go to one of them politician meetings? I mean, we dressed up nice, right?
Look,
Yeah.
I got my jacket has one button. I mean, that's classy, right?
You button that jacket, you put that hair into a ponytail, man, and we can talk, man. We can talk some lobbyists, bro. I don't know.
Let's do it as we smoke our THCa cigarettes.
I will tell you, is that not the best thing in the world? I mean, to look at anybody in the airport, a cop, it's THCA, man. Gotta love them. Gotta love them.
Yep. So I guess keep exploiting that loophole till the next time, guys.
Hey.
Chad Westport.
Scotty Real.
Thanks a lot for hanging, Scotty. See you next week for more news.
Take her easy, all y'all.